Hey guys. So, for those of you who had listened to the One Pod podcast, you heard that Janelle had shared some really personal information with us. And I only felt that it was right that she shared it with our YouTube family as well. So, for those who did not tune in, Janelle did disclose that she has sickle cell anemia. And she doesn't want you to feel woe is her or look at her any differently, but she's just going to share with us some really personal insight into her life and the things that she goes through. And I felt that it was needed. You know, she is a very strong individual. So what we are about to see here is her being very vulnerable, raw, and uncut. And I want to let you guys know this, that you are seeing a new side of her because this is really outside of her comfort zone. And as life would have it, because we decided that we were going to go ahead and disclose this and get real in-depth and personal, Janelle ended up in the hospital in a crisis. So as of yesterday, she was just released, and we apologize for now if her energy is not up to par or what you're used to seeing, but this is raw, this is real. This is my best friend, Janelle. So without further ado, here she is. So Janelle, can you talk with us? Let us know. Discuss with us. First and foremost, sickle cell anemia. What is that?
So sickle cell is a mutation of blood cells where the average person has round blood cells. And your blood cells, you learn this in biology or wherever. They move through the veins, they move through the ventricles, whatever, in a flowing stream. Sickle cell patients don't have round blood cells. They have sickle cell. So they have sickle shaped. It's like a crescent moon kind of shape. Because of that, we get issues. So when our sickled cells get caught on each other, usually because, of certain issues, whether it's dehydration, stress, whatever, the veins will kind of start to close in a little bit, and it makes it more difficult for the sickled cells to move, to flow in a stream. So they get caught on each other, and those sickled cells are in your veins, like clumped up, and they stop blood flow. They stop oxygen. They stop, everything is affected, and it ends up being severe pain. And I mean severe pain to the point where you gotta go to the hospital and get morphine or Dilaudid, or, if you're home, you might take some Percocet or Oxy. It's not no, I got a headache. For the most part, it comes from African Americans, so, and it is hereditary. You get it when both parents have the trait, the sickle cell trait. There isn't a lot of education on it, especially when I was born. So my parents didn't know anything about that. They both had the trait, and when I was born, it kind of came as a slap to the face, like, what the hell is going on? And when people are uneducated about it, they go off and have babies all willy-nilly and end up with children that have this issue.
Can I interject earlier? So when Janelle has sickle cell anemia, I have the sickle cell anemia trait. It was something that when I was very young, my mother told me. She was like, I didn't know what it was, but she was like, you have sickle cell anemia trait. And it was something she engraved in my mind, not understanding that I later on will have a best friend who actually has sickle cell anemia and what it does. So understanding, like she just said, knowing that you have, or your trait carrier, is something very, very big to have an understanding of. And with that, I now know that 2 of my children, they do also have the trait. So to now let them know and bring awareness to the trait and what it could happen.
Be careful who you procreate with, basically.
Very true.
She has the trait, but her husband doesn't. So, them procreating, genetics didn't mix so that her kids would end up with sickle cell disease. A couple of them have the trait. Now they need to be careful as well. And, there are a lot of African bloodlines in Hispanic people, in a lot of other cultures. So it's not just Black people that do have this issue. depends on genetics. It just does. But it isn't something that affects white people. I don't know if I've ever heard of anybody who's Asian that has it either. Not entirely certain.
But if you do, please let us know. Comment down below, because I mean, this is what this is. Like, we're all learning. I just want to let the awareness be there.
There are two different kinds of the sickle cell disease, SC and SS. Now, SC is, they say it's a better version to have. It's I guess, not as strong as SS. I have SS. I have the quote-unquote worst kind. And I think by worst, they're really talking about how it affects you. But I think of myself as lucky. I was diagnosed when I was 1. My parents and I went to a carnival, and it was cold, and I was 1. I wasn't even talking yet, and I got back home, and I was dressed warm, but average warm, not like, swaddled, can't see anything warm. Cold affects us because, it makes the veins and ventricles, constrict. So it ended up sending me into my first ever crisis when I was 1. And the only reason that they even knew something was wrong with me was because I was unable to stand up, and I was crying like crazy. And they're like, what is going on? So when they finally took me, I was diagnosed, and that's been,
Did they like take blood work? Did they?
I mean, I assume that's how it, I was a baby, but that's generally it, is blood work. To be able to tell, and they test for it. And I don't think it's something that's tested for right off the bat either. Or at least back then it wasn't. No.
So for me, for my children, they ask you all those preliminary questions, and they go, what do you suffer from? And I told them, well, the only thing that I do have is sickle cell anemia trait. They wrote it down. And then when my children were born, here where we are located, they did that. For my son, they did not. He was born in another location. So for my 2 girls, right off the bat, they said, well, they do. So for my son, I would like to get him tested to see for further information, for himself to know.
Chanel wanted me to tell my story, and I just kind of feel like my story is just my life. It's like when you go into an interview and they're like, tell us about yourself, and they're looking at them like, I'm a girl. I want this job.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I can say is that it hasn't affected me as severely as I've seen it affect other people, and I'm really grateful for that. Although I do go through it. I do have my issues, and nobody knows. I think that's a common theme with sicklers, is that we don't tell people what we go through, and I'm not sure why. It's just something that I've noticed with a lot of sickle cell patients, and I do have friends that have it as well. And you never know if you don't talk to them, or if you don't ask, or I could be lying in the hospital, and you might not hear from me. You might call my phone a couple times and don't hear from me, and then I call you back and I'm still in the hospital. I'm talking to you like if nothing. You would never know I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
And that's only when I start feeling a little bit better and I'm able to speak again, and I'm, not on a lot of drugs. But I don't know, my story is just, I'm a person, and it's just something that, I deal with occasionally, and I live my life, and I keep doing what I need to do.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I absolutely do love about Janelle, is that when she did build up the confidence to share it with me, she was just like,
I didn't even share nothing with you.
And it was years. It was years.
It wasn't no built up, no confidence to share nothing. I ended up in a crisis in school.
She had to build the confidence, to tell me, because I didn't know, and she kept it very private. But when she did, after the crisis, and I'm sitting here like talk to me. She's like, I'm like, Janelle, let me know. And
that's
she's
probably
like,
the first time you ever saw me cry.
Yeah, seriously, it was really scary.
It's not a pain that is easily dealt with, and no. I feel like we suffer in silence a lot.
Major pain.
When I have my crises, I cry, I scream, I pray to God. I'm sitting there like, God, why me? Why me? I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm calling for my mom. Like, I'm pacing. I'm Mama's breathing. I'm rubbing every area of my body. Like, I'm crawling on the ground. Like, I'm just trying to find a way to escape the pain. Although it's not gonna happen without drugs. It's just not going to. And in between those times when you have those really bad ones where you need to go to the hospital, you do have pain at home too. That is more manageable.
Would you say almost like daily?
Me personally, it's not daily. Or maybe if it is, I just don't notice it anymore. I might have like a pang of pain here, a pang of pain there, and I just keep moving and going about my business, and it is what it is. When it lasts a little bit longer is when I start having to be like, okay, I need to take some pills, I need to relax, I need to go to sleep, I need to, whatever. I don't know. The rest of my story is just, there were things that I couldn't do when I was younger, and it was never really anything that I cared for to begin with, so it didn't really bother me. Except for when my friends were, average kid stuff. Like, I used to look at people outside playing in the rain and stuff, just being kids and jumping up and down in puddles and stuff like that. And I wanted to do those things, but I couldn't because you get wet, you get cold, and it could shoot you into a crisis. And on top of that, it's physical activity. We can't do a lot of strenuous things.
So it affects your immune system.
Yeah. So that's another side to it, is that we don't really have an immune system. So I'm constantly sick with like infections, like sinus infections I suffer from a lot. If I go onto the train and there's too many people, too many germs, like somebody's sick, I'm going to get sick. I always say like what can go wrong will go wrong with me. Which is, in another video we talked about the fact that I got swine flu and pneumonia at the same time. This is just my life. Anyone that's sick around me, I need to stay far away from you. Because when I get exposed to anything, I'm very quick to catch something. Although I try to ignore it.
She's a fighter.
I do get sick a lot. And I don't know, I just kind of pretend like I'm not sick.
Which is one thing that I absolutely love about Janelle. Like I was saying before, where she mustered up the courage to tell me about it. I asked her, why didn't you share this with me from earlier? And she was like, because sickle cell is not who I am. I'm still Janelle. It's just something I deal with on a daily basis.
I said that to you.
Yeah. And she has shown throughout time and time again, high school was another task that she had to overcome. She did that great. She was in college. There was things happening there. She overcame that despite it all. When she went to law school, even more stuff. She went over it. She was just like, it's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do. It's just something I have to deal with. And that is why I consider her a today hero. Like, you guys are literally looking at a real life hero. She's my best friend. But it's the truth. Like, she has gone through so much, and despite it all, she says, this is not who I am. And like she shared, she has SS, which is supposed to be the worst case. You would not see that.
And there are so many other people that have it worse. I think as you get older, it does affect your body worse, because it's like continuously you're going through this, and it just breaks organs down. It breaks a lot down. And I've already had friends who have passed away from it, and I'm young. It's not something, like when I was born, they told me that I wasn't going to live to 30. There was so much that when I was born, of course, science has changed a lot as well. But there was a lot that when I was born, I didn't think that I was gonna, be able to do. I didn't think I was gonna live through. I didn't cater to live this long. It sounds weird, but I really didn't. Like, I think when I was in high school, like when I would do reckless things, I would just be like, well, I'm not gonna live long anyway.
these are things she would say that would piss me off as her best friend. Like, how dare you cut yourself short, you know? And that's why I am behind her, cheering her on, because she is a fighter. She has overcome so much. And that's why I have pushed her to do this, because I think that we all can see her and all what she has done, all that she's accomplished, and take a little bit of that in our own personal life, you know? So thank you. Thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah. As I was saying before, I'm not really sure why people don't talk about it a lot. But I do feel like it has a lot to do with the pain. It's kind of, it's a little bit embarrassing. And I know that sounds weird, but like when you see somebody in pain and the type of pain that we go through, and, you know, screaming and crying, and I don't give a damn where I'm at that point. Like even when I was, that time that she's talking about, the first time that she ever saw me in a crisis and I was at school, I was trying my hardest.
It was like almost like the Hulk. Like, it's seriously, like, from the outside looking in, like, she's going through something. There's a transformation happening, and it's like,
but I was trying my hardest not to show that I was in pain. Like, I'm breathing like hard, and I'm trying to like keep it in and keep it to myself, and I think, like I said, it's a little bit of an embarrassment. Like when you have to go through this regularly and people are seeing you act like this, and it's not acting like anything, but it's just a matter of like, what are people seeing me and thinking? And I feel like that's always how it's been for me. Like, that's the reason that I keep everything to myself. Like, I remember one time I got sick and I was at my aunt's house, and I was in some serious pain, like pain that I hadn't felt in a long time, and I had to call the ambulance to pick me up. And my little cousin came home from school on the school bus, and I didn't realize he came in the house. I didn't hear him come in, and I was just screaming at the top of my lungs, like, why, God, why? And later on, my aunt was like, you scared him. Like, he was really scared. And these are things that I think of. These are things that I consider. Like, I'm in a space with people that I see every single day. Like, if any of you saw me in a crisis, you would never look at me the same. Because you see this, you see put together Janelle, and you see normal Janelle. And it's an invisible disease. It is, because you can't tell my pain. You can't. Unless I want you to see it, you can't see it. And you can tell maybe something is happening. You can tell I'm not feeling well. You can look at me and, you know, see my face is, you know, not how it usually looks or whatever. But I really try to keep my crises away from people. And I do think it is scary. I mean, I would be scared if I saw it.
But you don't have to go through it alone.
It's not a matter of have to. It's just me. It's just how I am. And I feel like I said, like that. I feel like it's like that for a lot of us.
Exactly.
I don't.
Exactly. Which is the reason why I felt the need to open this platform.
And then you have the people that, you know, see it and they don't understand it either, and they criticize.
Yes.
And that happens a lot in the healthcare industry. So, you know, you have these people who are supposed to understand you that don't understand you.
But you have to understand also, Janelle, that on their part, a lot of the patients, because they're going through that, they can't breathe. They can't, the pain, it's hindering them from talking. All the nurses see is this person like, give me pain. And they're like, wait, hold up, you know? And then afterwards, when they give them their medication and everything, that person's gone. There was no disclosure of how you felt. What can I do to help you? What can I, you know, matter of fact, a lot of nurses, they don't really know. They know what's happening physically inside the body, internally, you know, but as far as helping the person, the patient, individual, you know, to give them that individualized care, it's not there.
I hear you. But I also kind of feel like, whose fault is that? Because there's so many opportunities for people in the healthcare industry to learn, but they don't take them. They go home to their families and they go about their lives.
Well, I mean, I really don't want to be that person to kind of push the racist card, but because me personally, what I have come to see and feel, and this is my personal opinion, guys, so please, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I believe that because it is a Black person's disease, there really isn't a lot of people to go back and to find out and to investigate and to rationalize and everything. They kind of look at it like, you know what, yeah, on to the next type of thing.
I think that's the truth as well. I mean, I go to the hospital, and I am, all through my entire life, I have strived to be where I am today. I've gone through some shit to be where I am today. I'm a freaking attorney, a barred attorney at that, on the first shot. I've done some things in my damn life.
Yes.
And when I go to the hospital and I'm in a crisis, I have people looking at me like I'm a drug addict. I have people looking at me like, well, I don't want to give her anything. Give her some Tylenol. I don't know. I'm not coming to see her yet. And I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know me. Like, you see me for a snapshot of my life. Like, if I didn't look, hair rumpled, in pain, crying, in PJs, because God knows when I'm in a crisis, I just pull whatever on and I go hospital, pain meds. I don't even, I ain't even got a bra on. Like, I'm just like, gotta go.
Yeah.
Go. Hair probably matted and naughty, and and I have curly hair, so it's even worse at that. But
curly hair sisters know.
I see what you're seeing, but at the same time, like I said, you see a snapshot of my life. You don't know who I am, like, at all. When if you were to come into my office and see me as an attorney and see me not in pain and see me doing my job, like, I'm a completely different person. Like, it's something that I have to deal with, but it's not who I am. So people look at us and they think like, oh, well, they're just, seeking drugs. They just want pain meds. All they use us for is to come in and get pain meds and then leave again. Yeah, because I need to get back to my life.
But not just in that aspect, though. Like, it's not. Granted, Janelle has disclosed this with me before, where there are cases of sickle cell anemia patients who end up getting hooked on these drugs because of the type of drugs that they are and so forth. So, yeah, in the medical profession, it is very liable that there may be a case where someone is dependent upon these medication.
But guess what? If you're in the healthcare industry and you have a sickler coming to you and you have a suspicion that this person is dependent on drugs, they're not coming for you to treat their drug habit. They're coming to you for pain meds because they're in pain because they have sickle cell. Whatever you do after, and I've heard this from people in other states. I have a friend who's a nurse in a different state, and she told me when sicklers come into hospitals up there, where we're at, they treat us like drug addicts, but up there, they treat us. They give us the pain meds. They make sure that we're stable and we're feeling better. Wow. And then they say, hey, in case this is your situation, here's a pamphlet for whatever anonymous. Maybe you need to deal with this. Maybe you need some help with it. Like, I'm not coming to you to judge me. I'm not. And you have doctors, a lot of doctors that don't know a lot about it, and so they're very hesitant to treat, because you go into the ER and the normal person is getting a 0.5 push of morphine, and they're zoned out, like zoned out in the clouds, like you just smoked some opium, like you're gone. A sickler, like she said, I just got out of the hospital yesterday. When I went into the hospital last week Sunday, the first thing that he did for me was give me 6 milligrams of morphine. 6. The average person is getting 0.5. So you do have doctors that are looking at us like, why do you need so much? Should I give this to them? What if they OD? Like, no, I'm not ODing. Like, I need this pain to survive. I mean, this pain meds to survive right now. Like, I am in pain. There's a lot. There's a lot to it. There are a lot of things that come from it. I know people my age with sickle cell who have had knee and hip replacements already. I mean, like I said, I know people who have died from it already. It's not just the pain. It's also, like I said, your organs start to break down. You start to get other complications because of all your infections and whatever else that you're getting. Pneumonia. I can't even count how many times I've had pneumonia. Regular blood transfusions. Every time I go to the hospital, I have blood. This time I had 2 units of blood. It's a regular thing. And I know people that have to go to the hospital weekly for blood.
Isn't there like a limit though? Because then it could be like too much iron build up. And so
a lot of what happens to us if we get too much blood is we build up like a resistance, I suppose, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to give us blood without like testing, and I forgot the name that they call it, but it's basically when you build up some kind of resistance to the things that are in the blood and they have to sift through and kind of clean it out for you before you get it. Otherwise you're going to end up with like
filtering,
kind of something along those lines. Like you'll have reactions to the blood, which I get anyway, but it's not serious. I'll get like hives or I'll itch all over or whatever, but I mean, it doesn't last, and it's just something that comes with it.
Can I say something? Just a little small known factor. So because I have sickle cell anemia trait, and because I am an O negative candidate, I would like to give my blood to be able to save lives because it is the universal blood. And I guess because of new research and everything, because I am a sickle cell anemia trait carrier, I can no longer donate blood. So if you have sickle cell anemia trait, do not be a blood donator.
I mean, they'll figure it out regardless, but yeah, you're wasting your time.
Then
I used to walk past those red buses on university campus, and they'd be like, come donate blood. And I'm just like, if you only knew. You hear people donating to me.
Yeah, go get my blood, please. So I have another little thing before we close it up. Are there any recent research, any things breaking barriers?
So actually, the night before I went to the hospital last, my mom sent me an article, and there have been a few cases in Florida. I think one is in Orlando, and I remember a few places that they've done a stem cell transplant that was actually successful, and the patients no longer have sickle cell. And there are some other treatments that they've come out with here and there that have success stories. Now the thing is that a lot of people will be like, oh, well, they have this here and that here, why don't you just go get it? It's so dangerous. It's not something where you can just pick up and go. First of all, let's start with the money. That crap is going to be expensive as hell.
Okay.
And insurance is not going to cover it. But on top of that, the risks are ridiculous. You go in there and you already basically don't have an immune system, and then you're taking stuff out of your body and putting stuff in. It's a procedure that essentially, if anything happened, if any kind of bacteria got anywhere near you, you die. You're gone in a heartbeat. So to me, I just feel like I go through what I go through, but if you guys, actually came out with a cure that I know for a fact I would survive and I could, afford, it's actually affordable, I'm there. Let's do this. Until then, I'm not, I've survived longer than they told me I was going to, and I'm not going to go and be like, oh, hey, let's go do this on a whim and see if I make it. No.
Yeah, no, we don't play, we don't gamble around here, especially with lives.
Yeah, I think I've talked enough.
Not enough, I think.
About myself.
Yes.
So I think we can head into a little Q&A about, I guess, sickle cell.
But before I go, Janelle, I want to tell you thank you. Thank you so very much for being so transparent, being so vulnerable, and letting us sharing with us. Really and truly, thank you. Because I don't think there's enough information out there. I don't think there's enough patients speaking out. What month is Sickle Cell Awareness Month again?
October, I think.
Yeah. So.
Oh no, September.
September, right? October is breast cancer.
Breast cancer.
Yeah. So right before Breast Cancer Month in October, September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. So we just want to get the awareness out there. We want to let you guys know, like, let's start this conversation. Like, let's let people know we need to get this cure. We need to find it. Like, we need it now, especially from our bestie.
And better healthcare now.
Yeah, first and foremost. So, guys, I want you to smash that like button. I want you to share this. Like, get the awareness out there. Comment down below if you have any more questions for Janelle.
Yeah, I mean, we can keep the Q&A going if anyone actually has questions that they want to know about sickle cell, about my sickle cell. I can only speak from my perspective. Everyone deals with their own things differently, and everybody is different, and they're being affected by it differently. Mm-hmm. So I'm only speaking from my experience.
And if we have any other sicklers out there that, you know, want to get in touch and, you know, like, let's make a wave of change. That's what I really want with this video, is to start a momentum going about an awareness of sickle cell anemia, about what can we do? Like, what can we really do? Because our people are out there being affected. Not just our people as Black people, but our brothers and sisters. We are all one. We are all in this together. So please share that video and all the other videos of Q&As to come. And again, that's my best friend Janelle.
That's my best friend Janelle.
Come back next week.
Rolling into the Q&As. And yeah, come back next week for another video, either Wednesday or Thursday.
So you can see
our beautiful faces.